in a very vast ocean that is in need of help, and therefore it is quite unfortunate the interception that did happen of these activists who are just armed with so much determination and was so brave to just dare to go to Gaza and feed these people with the humanitarian aid that we need. Remember, this is the biggest flotilla that has been seen in years. About 450 activists from 50 countries all coming in together, Turkey being at the forefront to deliver this much needed aid to the people in Gaza, which unfortunately did not reach them. So Jaffa, just a recap, we're here waiting. As you can see on your screen, the plane is already here. We are reliably informed that, of course, the people will just have some quick checks, some quick health checks once they get here, just to ascertain that they are okay, they are whole, they're doing all right. And of course, later on, we expect them to come and perhaps a representative to address us, and we will be seeking to hear from them. We will be seeking to understand what happened when they were intercepted, because remember, when they embarked on this voyage, they were full of hopes to get there, but they were also aware that something like this could happen. They were aware that they could possibly be intercepted or abducted, as some of them put it, and unfortunately that did happen. And so we will be seeking to see them, to hear from them, to know how they are doing, to know how they are feeling, because they're definitely disappointed, but we will be hearing from them, Jaffa. And it is also important to note that we have spoken to some family members who have been here waiting for their loved ones. I mean, ever since the Turkish Foreign Ministry broke the news that the activists would be coming this afternoon, Saturday afternoon, on that special flight, their people radiated with hope, because at the very least they will get to see their loved ones again. And so we have spoken to them, expressing their delight in having their loved ones back, but at the same time expressing their disappointment, because they also hoped, together with the activists, that they will be able to reach Gaza, which unfortunately was not the case. So we continue to wait, Jafar. It's a wait. It's a hopeful wait, I should say, because we can see the plane already here. But at any moment now, they will be walking through these doors just to speak to us.
Grace, we're
Jafar.
moments away from seeing those activists come out of that plane. And I think it's important to remind our audience, it's important to note here that Israel's interception of the flotilla is widely considered to run counter to multiple principles of international law. For example, under the Fourth Geneva Convention, collective punishment, which punishing an entire population for acts that they did not commit, is expressly prohibited, as we have been reminding our audience. And, you know, over the past few weeks, multiple experts have come forward and basically said that Israel's naval blockade on Gaza, coupled with the interception of humanitarian vessels, amounts to illegal suppression of aid. So, of course, we have been reporting here on TRT World that Israeli actions, Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip and dismantling of this global flotilla is a grave violation of international law. Moreover, the United Nations has repeatedly adopted resolutions demanding Israel ease or lift its blockade, open crossings, and allow unhindered humanitarian access. Of course, these are things that Israel has not done as part of these resolutions. In fact, one recent United Nations General Assembly resolution condemned Israeli siege on Gaza as illegal, immoral, and basically urged Israel to abide by its obligations under international law. Again, something Israel has not done up until now. So right now, to those who are joining us, we are seeing live pictures of the Turkish Airlines aircraft that has touched down here in Istanbul airport. This aircraft is carrying more than 130 activists who were detained by Israel for taking part in a humanitarian flotilla mission to Gaza. The plane has taken its parking position, and I believe in a few moments from now we'll be seeing those activists come out of the aircraft. We can also see a bus right next to the plane. I believe what's going to happen is these folks are going to come out of the plane and then they'll be transferred to that bus before being brought to the VIP terminal located at Istanbul Airport. If I'm not mistaken, the plane touched down about 15 minutes ago, And of course, we can see heavy presence of Turkish officials on the ground. Of course, aid representatives are also present there. And as we saw a few moments ago, a huge crowd has also gathered outside the airport at the VIP terminal to greet these activists. Of course, it's an emotional moment for these activists and also, of course, for their families as well, because the past 3 days there was a lot of uncertainty revolving around their plight. And I think it's important to remind our audience that still many activists remain under Israeli detention. In fact, our sources tell us that they are being kept at a notorious prison located in the Negev desert area of Israel. So certainly this is a crucial development, and of course many across Turkey are closely watching this development. According to Turkish Foreign Ministry, more than 30 Turkish nationals are on this plane right now. Along with Turkish nationals, many other nationalities are also present, including the United States, the United Arab Emirates, and many others. So certainly it is an important moment, one that carries a huge emotional significance as well, because over the past few days we have seen many across the world closely follow this humanitarian mission. Of course, the mission was going to Gaza not just to deliver humanitarian aid, but also to express solidarity with the Palestinians who have been living under constant Israeli bombardment over the past 2 years. So this mission had a huge emotional significance as well. And I think it is an important reminder to our audience as well about Turkey's longest standing support for Palestine and Turkey's repeated condemnation of Israel's blockade on Gaza. As we have said that we are expecting Turkish officials, aid representatives, and possibly some of the activists themselves to speak once they reach the terminal. But right now, I think you can feel the emotion on the tarmac right now. Of course, there's a huge presence of people on the ground. We still have not seen activists come out of the plane, but there's a lot of movement happening on the stairs of the aircraft. So any moment now, we'll be seeing those activists come out of the Turkish Airlines aircraft. So certainly an important moment. And over the past few days, we have seen multiple statements come from international leaders condemning Israeli actions, condemning Israel's dismantling of this global flotilla. The International Committee to Break the Siege of Gaza, which basically organized the flotilla, they have been saying that several detainees have begun an open-ended hunger strike in protest against their detention. Of course, these are people who are still under Israeli detention right now. And of course, we're also hearing from many other sources on the ground, many other officials, aid representatives, and they have all condemned Israeli actions, Israel's detention of these 8 activists who were going to Gaza to deliver humanitarian aid and express solidarity with the Palestinians over there. And I think what's happening right now, this. All right, so I believe we are seeing those activists on our screens right now. These are live scenes coming to us here on TRT World. The activists are beginning to step off that Turkish Airlines flight after being detained by Israel for taking part in the humanitarian flotilla to the Gaza Strip. All right, you can see them there walking down the steps onto the tarmac. Of course, they are being greeted by a huge crowd who are present at Istanbul airport. And soon they'll be transferred onto buses which are waiting nearby. From there, they'll be taken to the VIP terminal to be greeted by a cheering crowd that we have been sharing with all of you here on TRT World. So it's indeed an emotional moment for these folks, especially for the family members of these activists, because there was a lot of uncertainty about their plight over the past few days. But Turkey, thanks to Turkey's efforts, many of these activists have been released now. They have been brought to Istanbul. All right, we can hear them chanting the slogans. Of course, this is a very important moment, as we have been reporting here on TRT World. And outside, just a few meters away from where these people are right now, we can see Turkish people waving Palestinian and Turkish flags, chanting slogans in support of Palestine and these activists. As I've been saying, it is an emotional moment, certainly a mix of relief, pride and also defiance after what's been days of uncertainty and international outcry over Israel's detention of hundreds of people from that humanitarian flotilla. And right now you can see those activists stepping off that Turkish Airlines flight, and they're also chanting some slogans. Let's take a listen. Of course, they're being interviewed by media representatives who are also on the ground. That's our sister channel, TRT Hubbers microphone that you see on your screens right now. There's also a huge media presence, as TRT World's Grace Kuria Kanja was telling us. She's also at the airport right now, right outside the VIP terminal. That's where these activists are going to be brought. And right now, of course, we can see these activists speak to the media. Of course, it is a very important moment for them. And of course, once they speak to the media, we'll be learning more about their journey, the difficulties that they faced, and what happened to them when they were under Israeli detention.
Görmeye başladılar. O yüzden biz ablukayı kırdık 3 gün önce ve kırılmanın etkisini de 3 gün boyunca İsrail'li Siyonist askerlerin ve polislerin yüzlerinden çok net bir
blockade, and we saw what that meant for the Israeli soldiers. Maybe our representative of delegation might speak. I am Davut. I am the representative of our flotilla. I thank the Turkish government, and they always helped us. Our embassies helped us, but I would like to share these names with the public opinion. And our embassies told us that they are going to bring the rest of us: Mecit Bahçıvan, Abdullah Gündem, Alparslan Aslan, Yunus Demir, Turgay Turan, Zeynel Abidin Özkan, Muhammed Fatih Sinan, Sena Polat, Semih Fener, Hakan Şimşek. These people are still there, but our embassies are telling us that they are going to bring them back. We were successful. We broke in the blockade. We showed how oppressive Israel was. This was one of our goals, and we succeeded. Thank you.
So we have been listening from these activists. They're speaking to the media right now. Let's listen to this one as well.
Sadness of not reaching Gaza, but these voices will be heard, and we are going to see the end of the sacrifice of Israel. We didn't receive a humanitarian approach, unfortunately. From the time that our ships entered, we were subjected to insults, and when people saw what we were going through, we then understood a little bit better what Gazans went through. They don't even give us water for 3 days. They did not give us water. They did not allow us to pray. They had this approach, and this was fitting to what Israel has been doing so far. Yes, of course, we saw the minister. He was disgraced. People told them that they were terrorists in front of their faces, and we told them that real terrorists were the ones that was doing the massacre in Gaza for 2 years, and they had to leave that place in disgrace. Of course, the Turkish Airlines helped us with this, not only for us, but for other brothers and sisters that came from other countries. They were with us in the plane. Even though we had to go to the airport through land roads for 5 to 6 hours, but we would like to thank the officials for their help.
All right, so we have been listening from these activists. They have been speaking to the media right after coming off that Turkish Airlines aircraft. Of course, it's an emotional moment for them and their families. For more on this, let's bring in here to World's Grace Kuria Kanja, who joins me live from Istanbul airport. Grace, good to see you. So tell me, what do you make of what we just heard? Certainly, it is an emotional moment for them, but one thing that really stands out for me from one of the interviews is about how these activists were treated by Israeli forces. Some of the activists have said that they were kept in inhumane conditions and they were treated with a lot of disrespect.
Absolutely, Jaffa, and the world is watching, and I like what I heard from one of them who actually said that they've actually broken the blockade because now the whole world's eyes are on Gaza and they get to see and witness just what happened to them right from the minute they embarked on the voyage, on the flotilla, to when they were intercepted, to when they're now back, Jaffa. And I like the spirit, and it's been also received warmly from the people here, from the families who've been waiting for them, because it's one thing to know that they've landed, that they're on the Turkish soil, but it's another thing to see them, and we've now seen them, and the people here are at ease, ascertaining that their loved ones are already back, and of course just waiting for them to see them, to hug them, and to welcome them, and to receive them, just like we are here, because we are reliably informed that after what you just saw there, after them disembarking from the plane, which they have, they will board the shuttles like you're seeing, and then after that there will be a welcoming ceremony that's going to be attended by the chair of the Turkey-Palestine Interparliamentary Friendship Group. That's the Turkey-Palestine Interparliamentary Friendship Group, along with politicians and representatives from non-governmental organizations, and that is the welcoming ceremony that shall be held for the 137 activists that we have just seen disembark the plane. And then of course after that they shall be brought here at the VIP terminal by the same shuttles that you're currently seeing on the screen, where they shall be received by their loved ones who are excited to see them. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure you can actually hear the voices from the people here, their supporters, because I did say that there are other people, not just their family members, but supporters from various universities here who have also come to receive them, Jafar.
Grace, thank you very much indeed for your reporting out of the airport. We'll stay with the live pictures for now. The activists are being transferred to a bus before being brought to the VIP terminal at the Istanbul airport. We can see pictures coming to us live from the bus where these activists are present right now. Their plane landed about 30 minutes ago, and a few moments ago we saw them step off that Turkish Airlines aircraft. And of course we see a huge media presence on the ground. They're all eager to interview these activists about the treatment that they received from Israeli forces. For more on this, let's bring in Tier 2 World Zaina Tahan. She joins me live from Negev in Israel. So Zaina, we have been listening to some of the remarks being made by these activists who have just arrived here in Istanbul, and many of them are basically talking about the inhumane conditions they were kept under and the disrespect that they received from the Israeli side.
Jafar, just a couple of hours ago we were talking to one of the lawyers who had stepped out of the Naqab prison where these activists were being held. Just to mention that this is the largest prison in Israel. It is one of the most notorious, and it is where multiple Palestinian political prisoners have been killed at the hands of the Israeli authorities. So you can imagine the conditions there. This lawyer that we spoke to, Mais Abdullah, told us that the detainees, some of them were being denied food and water since they were forcibly taken from their boats from international waters. Some of them were told, when they asked for water, Jafar, they were told to drink from the toilets and the bathrooms, obviously very contaminated water. Several of them, we don't have exact numbers, but many were beaten, abused while they were being taken off the ships. It's important to note that the entire framing of Israel, how it's been dealing with these hundreds of activists, treating them as illegal immigrants into Israel, even though they were taken from international waters and brought to Israel against their will. They were made to sign papers. These people that were deported today and the 4 Italians yesterday were made to sign papers saying that they illegally tried to enter Israel, which is not the fact. We've heard from multiple human rights organizations, including Adalah, the party that is representing them in court, saying that these people were brought here against their will. They were taken from international waters, and their treatment so far has been bad. There are still Turkish citizens inside the Naqab prison, alongside many other citizens who are reporting abuse at the hands of the Israeli authorities. Jafar.
That's Zaina Tahan live for us from Negev in Israel. Zaina, thank you very much indeed. All right, now let's bring in Shuai Nilhan Achikalan. She's an associate professor of international relations at Ankara Haji Bayram Veli University. She joins me live from Istanbul. Great to have you here with us on Tier 2 World, Shuai. You were listening to our correspondent Zaina Tahan out of Negev. Now, that's where the notorious Israeli prison is located. And as we have been reporting, many of the activists were kept in that notorious prison. And as Zaina was talking about it, that these activists were basically asked to drink water from the toilet. And I mean, it's really difficult for me to describe the conditions that they faced over there. And this is something that is being corroborated by activists who have just arrived here in Istanbul. Media folks are trying to interview them on the ground at Istanbul airport, and they're all basically telling us about the inhumane conditions they faced while under Israeli detention. So what do you think this tells us about Israel and Israel under Netanyahu?
Thank you, Jafar. Yes, we are experiencing and witnessing the historic moments that have been landed by the Turkish airlines, these activists. And unfortunately, it is not surprising to hear that the inhuman conditions in the Israelis' prisons, because we have been hurting that for many years, not after the 7th of October, but for more than 50 years. Israeli, the most of the high levels supporting the inhuman conditions, and even they asking to have the worst conditions that have been right now conducting towards not only the Palestinians, but also these kind of the activists and other prisoners over there. Also, it should be noted that we are seeing a clearly breaching of the international law in the different ways. First of all, as Zana mentioned, that the Israeli government basically kidnapping those people from the international waters, which is totally illegal. Secondly, they try to push them with the psychological or the physical, the very violent situation, and put them pressure to sign the document as an illegal immigrant, which is also illegal. And the last one, of course, the inhuman conditions in the prisons, that also breaching the international law, as well as it's not possible to mention that kind of anything of any states can make this in a conscious way towards the prisoner. And also, one more should be also remembered, that the Sumut Flotilla, since the first day and in last 3 days, shows the world the reality face of the Israel when they started to basically intercepted their boats and kidnapping with these kidnapping activities. And this is also another face side of the reality of the Israelis' violence and the basically the government politics towards the other people, not only the Palestinians.
Right, Shuai, fascinating insights there. Stay with us. I just want to remind our audience what they're seeing on their screens right now. To the right-hand side of their screens, these are live pictures coming to us from the VIP terminal. The activists have arrived there. They basically stepped off the buses to a warm and emotional welcome. You can see these people being greeted by a crowd of supporters right now. Of course, we can see many supporters there cheering and applauding the work of these activists. You can see smile on their faces. You know, Shuai, let me ask you, of course, we see a huge presence of supporters at the airport right now. They're all holding Turkish and Palestinian flags in their hand. How important is this moment for Turkey?
Of course, this is as I said, the historic moment, and it's also it's normal to see that there's such a crowd in front of the airport and waiting the activists, because first of all, since the beginning of the Sumut Flotilla, Spain and the Turkey has been playing a very key role to have the old flotilla to arrive safely to the Gaza waters. And secondly, of course, this is a big success of the Turkish government that taken by these activists in a very safe way from the Israel to Turkey.
Professor Shuai Nilhan Achikalan, thanks very much for joining us here on Tier 2 World. Really appreciate your taking out the time.
Thank you.
All right, that's all for now. Do stay with us here on TRT World.
Think of a body of water like a river, lake, or even an ocean that's filled with plastic debris like this. What would be the best way to pick it up? Well, one way would be to use a drone like this.